Look, folks, I want to say good evening and thank you for taking the time to speak with me. I want this to be a conversation where I get to hear your stories and you get to ask me questions that are on your mind. So I'll just say a few things to the head start here. It's going to take me about 10 minutes to do it. Earlier today, my good friend, and he is a friend, Bernie Sanders, announced he was suspending his campaign. Bernie's always been a passionate voice for progress, and he put his heart and soul not only into running for president, but also the causes and issues he has been dedicated to his whole life. He's inspired and energized millions of supporters, especially young voters, to join him in championing a progressive vision for our country. And he didn't just run a political campaign, he created a movement. And that's a good thing for the nation and for our future. While Bernie's campaign has ended, I know his leadership is going to continue, including working to address the incredible challenges we're now facing, the ones that are facing this nation under this president. My heart goes out to everyone out there suffering from COVID-19. We all know the greatest tragedy in all of this is how many lives are being lost, how many are infected and suffering alone. I mean, we have friends who are not able to see their one friend, her mother was dying of another illness, a cancer, and she's in the hospital, but she couldn't go and see her. They had to put a phone up to her ear. It's so hard for so many people. And this is going to continue to be a very hard week for our country. This disease is not only tearing through the nation, it's devastating families. It's wrecking the economy. And we're starting to see it magnify some of our worst systemic inequities. You know, early data shows countries and counties in this country have major black populations and Hispanic populations. The coronavirus infection rates in the black communities are 3 times as high as they are in white majority resident communities. Death rates nearly 6 times higher. That's unconscionable and never should happen. We need more data. We also need more data on how the Latino and other communities of color are impacted, other minority communities, so we know exactly what has to be done. Black Americans are still less likely to be insured, as are Latinos, less likely to have access to health care, less likely to have had treatment for underlying conditions like asthma and diabetes to make them more vulnerable to this virus today. And they're more likely to face exposure to pollutants than anyone else associated with the COVID-19 pandemic, and their death rates are higher. Black Americans are also less likely to have a job they can do just from home, like many Latinos in America. They're more likely to have to choose between their health care and their paycheck. This virus is shedding light on the structural racism that still exists and plagues our laws, our institutions, and our culture. And these past few weeks have been devastating for our economy. We're going to have to do an awful lot of work to rebuild after this is over. And as I've said over and over the past weeks, I believe that it's a top priority for us is using the money, the $2 trillion from the so-called CARES Act that Congress passed, to keep as many workers on payroll as possible so they can hit the ground running. But so many people, including some of you, have already lost your jobs. 6.6 million new unemployment claims just reported last week, and who knows what's going to be this coming week. 3.3 million the week before. We're getting more reporting tomorrow. That's already more than 10 million Americans who have lost their jobs through no fault of their own because of this pandemic. Hospitality workers, I need not tell you about that, Senator, in Las Vegas. Service industry workers, highly skilled workers in construction, so many more, union members and non-union members. I know people are worried, not just if you or your loved one are going to get sick. You're worried about how you're going to make the rent, worried about how to pay the bills, keep food on the table, worried about when the relief checks are going to come through that have been voted by the Congress. You know, that's the key part of the 10-point, what I call a make work checklist that I put together last week and offered to the President of the United States, President Trump, so that he knows how to think about what it takes to administer a massive federal recovery program. And one of the key pieces is making sure to get those unemployment checks out on time and in full. We have to make workers who have been laid off financially whole. States already overwhelmed by the millions of claims, with more to come. States need more staff, better technology, more robust systems to both accept claims and get those funds out the door. The White House should have had their back. We need to get those relief checks into the hands of folks as quickly as possible, using direct deposits, prepaid debit cards, whatever we can. But here's what we know above all. The money and the plans that are in the CARES Act won't be enough in the first time around. We're going to have to do more. The unemployment insurance payments, they will have to keep people afloat. Right now, they're set to expire. These payments should be available as long as they are needed. And the federal government should backstop the states on this to make sure that they continue to make those payments. We should have a rent freeze and a moratorium on evictions during this public health crisis, because no one should have to worry about losing their home during a pandemic or where they live during a pandemic. The next package that is already being discussed should include student debt relief for at least $10,000 per person to help ease the burden on young people who are already struggling to get by before the coronavirus. We have to make sure everyone has access to maintain affordable health insurance coverage. We should be making it easier, not harder, to make sure to make sense to, let me put it another way. It makes no sense. It makes no sense to be fighting in court right now to try to take away Obamacare from people who need it more than ever. It makes no sense not to open up a new enrollment period in the middle of this pandemic so the people who need insurance can get it now. And as we look at the next steps that are needed, we should boost the subsidies for Obamacare, keep people and give them affordable coverage. And the same goes for COBRA. You all know what COBRA subsidies are. When the president and I were in charge of pulling the country back from the Great Recession and rebuilding our economy in 2009, we made sure the subsidies were up to 65%. This crisis is going to be even bigger. So our support for the American people is going to need to be even more generous. And by the way, COBRA kicks in when the insurance you have with your company no longer is available to you. The government should pick up the full cost of COBRA premiums right now. One additional tragedy of this crisis is how much pain could have been avoided with swift decision action and decisive action. This is a challenge that requires leadership. It requires transparency, and it requires urgency. America's long-term recovery is going to require far more investment, but it needs to be smart and effective. We can't just return to an unfair and unequal economy that's stacked against American workers. We already know we're going to need more resources, a lot more. More people are going to need help. Let's start now so we don't waste valuable time. Let's get help to the people who need it the most. I know that we'll come through this challenge stronger than ever, just as we have every crisis we ever faced in this nation. There's nothing Americans can't achieve when we do it together. I'm anxious to hear your questions, but I tell you what, I promise you, we will get through this. You've heard me talk about the soul of America, Senator, and I talk about we need to restore it. Well, we're seeing the soul of America. And all the workers I'm going to be talking to today, all the people all across the country, they're not asking whether you're a Muslim or a Christian. They're not asking whether you're a Latino or you're not. They're asking if they're just whatever you need. People are reaching out. Look at all the first responders, how they're risking their lives without the equipment they need to help people. It makes me proud to be an American. Proud. I really bet it really does. This is the soul of America. We're seeing it now. And as a consequence, when we get through this, we're going to be able to do so much better than we've done in the past.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.